Inaugural Meeting 2024 and induction to the 2024 Board of Governors of the Management Association of the Philippines. The President and CEO of New Perspective Marketing International Incorporated, Dr. Karen Remo.
Great afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Karen Remo, the CEO and President of New Perspective Media Group, and it is my privilege to be the MC and moderator for this very important event of the Management Association of the Philippines. On behalf of the MAP, I welcome you all to the 76th MAP Inaugural Meeting and induction of the MAP Board of Governors for 2024. We will now proceed to the recognition of outgoing MAP governors. May I call on our outgoing President, Attorney Dick Dubalada, and incoming President, Secretary Rene Avengers, to please do the awarding. Governors will come up the stage as his name is called. And to our audience, please direct your attention on the screen for the services our governors have rendered to the Management Association of the Philippines in 2023. May I now call on Attorney Alex Cabrera, Chair Emeritus and ESG Leader of the PwC Philippines, Isla Lipanan and Company. Thank you, Alex. Next is Dr. Shell Javito, Chair of Brain Trust Incorporated. Thank you, Dr. Shell. Next is Dr. Donald Lee, President and COO of Dito CNE Holdings Incorporated, who unfortunately won't be able to join us today. And then last but not the least, Dr. Chico Salazar, President and COO of FINMA Corporation. Unfortunately as well, Dr. Salazar cannot join us today because of prior commitments. May I now call back our outgoing governors for the group photo op. A warm round of applause, please, to our outgoing governors. Thank you, Attorney Alex, Dr. Shell, Dr. Donald, and Dr. Chico. At this point, our outgoing President will now deliver her farewell message. Please welcome Attorney Dick Dubalada.
Our guest speaker and inducting officer, Mr. Jaime Agustus Zobel de Ayala, MAP past presidents, MAP Management Person of the Year awardees, friends from the government, the diplomatic community, civil society, the academe and the media, and the members of the outgoing and incoming MAP boards of governors, fellow MAP members, guests, good afternoon and a happy new year to all of you. Same month last year was about hello. Today it's about thank you. See you around. And I wonder where time went. The MAP year-end President's Report gave an idea of where the time went. But as we all love to say, the devil is always in the details. And it is humbling that what kept us busy for 365 days can just be summarized in few sentences and paragraphs. First, we kept ourselves guided and focused on our theme of bridging and building a progressive future. actively pursuing programs under the clusters, 6 clusters, namely building and bridging our internal strength so that collectively we can provide able support in nation building, resilience and recovery, innovation, diversity, equity and inclusion, growth and people development, and ESG. I do not think that the goal of every stewardship responsibility is to complete the mission. We are in a moving train, and we do what we can until the next stop. So another batch moves in as we go out. In our segment, we shone the spotlight on social development agenda, recognizing that no true prosperity can be achieved unless all that we do, where we are, and with the resources we can build, will deliberately and consciously take steps to bring in and include those who have less so that they too can have a better quality of life. And with this in mind, we launched our campaign against malnutrition and child stunting, or the CAMAX. We designed the door that will let MSMEs come in and participate through our investment ecosystem initiatives. We signed MOUs where we committed to provide technical assistance through capacity building programs for LGUs. And we advocated the creation of a national brand as a way to improve our competitive position. We enhanced our national standing as an organization through the various issues we supported, and we were gratified that our opinions and ideas are heard in various fora and in communication outlets. This gave us the opportunity to articulate our stance in many issues that affect our country and our economy, and this was capped by a dedicated CNN segment, aptly coined the business map. Finally, we expanded our reach by initiating a collaboration with our ASHA management counterparts to share best practices. We hope that we will add more memberships as we activate our Committee on International Relations this year. It is both my honor and privilege to serve as the 75th President of the Management Association of the Philippines. I thank the wisdom and the guidance of the 2023 Board in helping me lead the MAP. I thank our 2023 committee chairs and vice chairs who initiated and implemented MAP's program and activities last year, and their unselfish gift of time and energy to the association. And lastly, I thank the many members who pitched through the various committees they choose to join. Together, we all enabled a strengthened MAP organization that capacitated us to pursue our mission of management excellence, be the voice in social and national development, the hub of innovative ideas and solutions, and the leadership that keep pushing our advocacies forward. We are truly, sincerely thankful. I am also glad that many of what we started last year are being continued this year by the new board, and this will be shared with you by our 2024 President, Rene Almendras. I enjoin everyone to support the 2024 board, under whose stewardship we hope to help in bringing our nation closer to its vision of inclusive and sustainable development. Maraming salamat at mabuhay ang MAP.
Thank you very much, Attorney Dick. Let us give Dick a big round of applause for providing leadership to the MAP last year. We now proceed to the induction of the MAP 2024 Board of Governors. May I request each governor to come up on stage as his or her name is called. Let's start with MAP President Rene Almendras, President and CEO of AC Logistics Holding Corporation. MAP Vice President Noel Punoan, Vice Chair and COO of KPMG RG Manaban and Company. MAP Treasurer Cory Purisima, Treasurer and Head of Markets and Security Services of HSBC Philippines. MAP Assistant Treasurer Maurice Sasson, President and CEO of GCash and Mint. MAP Secretary Karen Matumbakal, partner of CEO Advisors Incorporated. Coming back on stage, MAP Governor Dick Dubaladad, founding partner and CEO of Dubaladad and Associates or DDD Law. MAP Governor Rex Quilon II, Vice Chair of Center for Excellence in Governance. MAP Governor Al Pandillo, Director of PODT and SMART. And MAP Governor Ben Punumbayan, founder of PNA Grant Thornton. Unfortunately, Governor MAP Assistant Treasurer Maurice Sasson won't be able to join us today because she is abroad. To lead the induction of the MAP 2024 Board of Governors, may now call on our inducting officer, the Chair of Ayala Corporation, and the MAP Management Person of the Year 2006, Mr. Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala. Please all rise to add solemnity to the occasion.
For the oath of office, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and please state your name, have been duly elected to the Management Association of the Philippines in do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability the duties of my present position and all others I may hereafter hold in the association. That I will obey and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the association. That I will dedicate myself to promote and uphold its ideals and objectives. And that I impose this obligation upon myself more entirely, without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isabel. May we ask the members of the 20? Okay, so let's take an opportunity for a photo. Secretary Almendras and Attorney Dubaladad, who should remain on stage for the next part of our program. We shall now proceed to the presentation of the plaque of appreciation to the outgoing MAP President. May I now call on Attorney Dick Baladan, please. The MAP presents this plaque of appreciation to Attorney Dick Baladan in recognition of her outstanding leadership and exemplary performance, and in grateful appreciation for her deep sense of responsibility and dedication to her duties as MAP President in 2023. With total commitment and full resolve, she firmly led MAP in another challenging year and guided MAP in accomplishing its objectives consistent with MAP's 2023 theme, Bridging and Building a Progressive Future. Because of her able and decisive leadership, she served as an inspiration to the governors, the committee chairs and vice chairs, the membership, the management and staff to address themselves fully to the needs of the MAP and its members, and to measure up to the high standards of management and leadership for which the MAP has been established. Signed, Rene D. Almendras, MAP President for 2024. As all of you, another big round of applause for Attorney Dick for a wonderful job in 2023. Presidency to inspire Secretary Rene Almendras in pursuing the MAP's vision of promoting management excellence for nation building. May I now request Attorney Baladan to please turn over the symbol of MAP Presidency to Secretary Almendras. Again, a wonderful warm of applause to our incoming and outgoing MAP Presidents.
To our dear guest speaker, who also happens to be my boss, Mr. Jaime Augusto Sobel de Ayala, our distinguished guests from government, in particular, we have the Secretary of Trade and Industry with us, Secretary Fred, the Diplomatic Corps, which is very well represented today, the academe and media, leaders of the various Philippine business groups and foreign chambers, MAP Management Persons of the Year awardees, we have several of them here with us, MAP past presidents, outgoing President Dick Baladan, whose act is going to be very hard to follow despite my shoe size being bigger than hers. I know it's going to be hard shoes to fill. MAP board members, fellow MAP members, dear friends, good afternoon to all of you. I never aspired, but I'm honored and grateful to have been selected as the 76th President of the Management Association of the Philippines. I honor the distinguished list of past presidents and leaders who have built MAP to what it is today. One cannot help but be overwhelmed by the breadth and depth of expertise, experience, and wisdom in the MAP. I want to particularly thank past President Dick Baladan and her Board of Governors for a very successful 2023, leading MAP for the whole year thereof. I do believe they do deserve a warm round of applause. A few years ago, I was invited by that big blue school in Katipunan to speak, who lost the basketball game recently anyway, to speak to the in an honors ceremony, an annual honors ceremony, where the best and the brightest were being recognized. I decided to ask the honorees if success was their ultimate objective. The young, energetic, and idealistic bright minds naturally responded positively. I then ventured to suggest to them, wouldn't being significant be a better objective? Many years since then, and being more aware of the constant changing challenges of the times, I realized that being significant meant being relevant. I reasoned to them, one can be successful but not relevant. But one who is relevant is always successful. I explained to the young minds, at least attempted to explain to the young minds, that everyone aspires to leave behind a mark of one's lifetime. A legacy of one's relevance takes center stage in depth and meaning. The dictionary meaning, by the way, of relevant is connected or appropriate to the situation, the period, the activity, or the aspiration. Relevant actually comes from the Latin word relevare, which means raising up. By being relevant, we not only raise ourselves up, but more importantly, we raise others up. I believe the present call for all of us, our organizations, our businesses, is to be relevant to the times, to the community, to the nation, and to the environment. In navigating the complexities of an ever-evolving domestic and global landscape, embracing relevant leadership in business and government is not just an option but now a necessity and a continuous journey towards a progressive future. As in the past, our activities this year will be guided by a theme which your incoming board has chosen. For 2024, the board has chosen the theme Relevant Leadership for a Progressive Philippines. We actually changed the last word about an hour ago. In line with this theme, MAP will pursue 5 thrusts. The first being member engagement. The second will be country competitiveness. The third will be ESG and shared prosperity. The fourth will be innovation, technology, and digitalization. And the fifth will be investing in the youth. On member engagement, your board has decided we will ensure the relevance of the topics and issues to be taken in the MAP General Membership meetings and all the other activities. The objective is to engage the membership in a more meaningful way. The programs will be executed to be interactive and engaging, discussing relevant topics and developments so as to benefit the members, their companies, and the economy. Our Vice President, Mr. Noel Binoan, has already completed the list of exciting speakers that we will have for the rest of the year. We will endeavor to have topics and resources and resource persons who can stimulate and engage with our members. We will expand outside Metro Manila to the key cities where we can engage new members and through technology enable their virtual participation in our various activities. This will be our way of helping expand business and economic development benefits beyond Metro Manila to the rest of the country. On country competitiveness, recent economic realities, together with globalization, highlight the need to enhance our own competitiveness. All the other economies in the world are so doing. We cannot be left behind. To help improve the global competitiveness of the Philippines, we will push for vital policy reforms through executive and legislative action whenever possible that will eliminate corruption, improve the ease of doing business, ensure food security through agriculture productivity, and sustain an enabling business environment for local and foreign investors. The aspiration is to attract greater and more diverse, job-creating investments for more Filipinos to be gainfully employed. We need to respond to the reality of heightened economic inequality and the adverse long-term effects thereof. For our thrust on ESG and shared prosperity, we will push for the discourse and actions to encourage our members, companies, towards shared economic prosperity for all, environment and climate action, and principled business practices and governance. On innovation, technology, and digitization, with the recent technological developments that threaten jobs and the present workforce, we encourage action to prepare for this transition. It is important that we encourage proper technology adoption, innovation, and digitization to address these evolutionary changes and challenges coming our way. We also see digitization as the key to improving the quality of service for the Filipinos, addressing corruption both in private and public sectors. Investing in the youth. With the increased global competitive realities, the development of competencies and the well-being of the Filipinos, especially the young, is now more critical than ever. We will continue the campaign against malnutrition and child stunting. We will advocate for government and the private sector to pursue relevant education, health, and wellness programs, particularly for the youth. The objective is for them to become productive members of society in the future with competitive skills and capacity that will ensure a progressive economy. We will address the top 7 concerns of the MAP members, which was a result of a survey done in the 4th quarter of last year. The first concern is corruption, followed by ease of doing business, the economy, agriculture, cybersecurity, education, and climate change. Please note that all these top 7 concerns will be directly addressed by the 5 thrusts that we have explained earlier. In general, we will build on MAP's current activities initiated by past presidents and recently by President Dick Balabad and her Board of Governors. While focusing on the 5 main thrusts, we will continue to pursue other advocacies and programs to adapt to dynamic changes in the domestic and global landscape. Your 2024 board will work with the 21 MAP committees, less than what we have, which shall be grouped according to our 5 main thrusts. Member engagement will be headed by our Vice President, Ms. Noel Bodoan, and I will be assisting him in that group. The country competitiveness will be headed by Governor Cory Purisima, and I will also be assisting her there. ESG and shared prosperity will be headed by Mr. Rex Drilon and Mart Sazon. The Innovation, Technology, and Digitalization Group will be headed by Mart Sazon and Al Panlilio. Isn't it wonderful to have both PLDT and Globe in the same committee? Mind you, I did not have to force them. They both volunteered. The group on investing in the youth had so many volunteers, just to show you how important this one is. It will be headed by Karen Batumbakal, Cory Purisima, and Al Panlilio. We have listened and considered all your inputs in our planning and identification of the 5 main thrusts for the coming year. We would appreciate your continued inputs and suggestions and comments, please let me or the MAP Secretariat know of anything that you want us to listen to. We will be relying on the invaluable support and active participation of every MAP member, particularly the MAP Board of Governors, all the committee chairmans and vice chairmans. Everyone, we hope, will get involved. Years ago, in that Katipunan event, the Jesuits and the faculty told me that they liked what I said. I wonder though, how many of the best and brightest minds listening agreed with me. I would have been very happy if some were even open to the consideration that it's not all about personal success. Today, here, we have a room full of very successful and significant individuals. It is a privilege, but much more a challenge for me to be serving this prestigious organization of women and men full of talent, skill, and capability, but more so committed to do good, to do what is right for a better nation. In addition to all the successes and the significance here present, may we invite all of you to join us, your 2024 Board of Governors. Let us all share in the aspiration to be relevant leaders that are committed to a better future for the generations to come in our country. Your support will be very crucial in achieving this aspiration. Thank you very much. Mabuhay ang MAP, mabuhay kayong lahat.
And a very big congratulations.
This is going to be very good news. Thanks for the joke.
Indeed, in our world of media, marketing, communications, and reputation management, you must be relevant. If there's one thing, you must be relevant. Because if you're not relevant, there's no attention. If there's no attention, there's no conversion. And if there's no conversion, there's no positive change. Thought that, given this year's theme, relevant leadership for a progressive future, progressive Philippines, there could only be one speaker for today's MAP inaugural meeting. Our guest speaker continues to devote a significant portion of his personal and professional time to push for a more meaningful and relevant way of doing business. He and the organizations that he leads or is a part of have been and continue to be recognized for many achievements along this front. To illustrate, he is the first and only Filipino to have been recognized by the United Nations as a Sustainable Development Goals pioneer for sustainable business strategy and operations. He is also the first Filipino to be invited to become a steering committee member and steward of the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, which he has helped expand here in the country. This was actually under the Vatican and the Pope. His leadership was also a major factor for the Ayala Group being invited, once again, as the only Filipino company so far to be a member of the World Business Council for Inclusive Development and the Business Commission to tackle inequality. But beyond these milestones, many believe that the most impressive about the guest speaker, and guess what, is the immeasurable value that he brings to the organizations that he is a part of. He was able to help create this culture of purposeful work, one that puts the needs and dreams of people first, then using business as a platform for solutions. We should look forward, I am looking forward, to learning more from him today.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our guest speaker, the chair of the Ayala Corporation and the MAP Management Person of the Year 2006, Mr. Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala.
Good afternoon to everyone. Karen, thanks so much for the generous remarks. To our new MAP President, Ronel Mendras, and the incoming Board of Governors of the MAP, to Mrs. Dick Dubaladad and our outgoing governors, to all the members of the MAP, which also includes all our next generation leaders, to people, well, we got Secretary Fred Pascual here. Secretary, always a pleasure to see you. And to all the MAP awardees, I think I had a chance to see Tony Aquino earlier, who was one of our MAP awardees. Good afternoon, and thank you for this honor. Let me just start by congratulating Rene for his new position of responsibility. I think there are a few people that I've gotten to know over the years who provided top-level leadership both in the private sector and the government. I don't think I've met any other secretary, Rene, that has had 3 cabinet positions of a different kind of the other over the years in an executive position in government. And we're all aware, certainly within the Ayala Group, of the tremendous leadership you've given across many industries over the years. A great choice, and Rene, I wish you much luck in this leadership for MAP, an organization that certainly deserves the kind of leadership that you bring in. We've always been great believers in MAP and what it stands for. I was mentioning to Cory Purisima earlier that when I returned back to the Philippines many years ago, I was kindly invited to be a member of MAP, and it helped me rebuild a range of contacts that I had lost given my many years of education abroad. And of course, the Management Man of the Year Awards, many members, I guess, of the Ayala Group have received that as well over time. And the organization has been a great symbol to all of us of progressiveness and integrity and engagement in an organization that we've all deeply respected. So thank you for the honor of joining you here today. I know that every year the MAP themes shift, but this emphasis now on relevance that Rene was pointing out is something that I think is just so important in this day and age. And Rene, congratulations for the many initiatives that you've clearly thought through as you start your leadership journey. This relevant leadership for a progressive future across a variety of different areas that you're putting emphasis on, I think it's just a great way to start. And we've always been very respectful of MAP's tradition for pushing businesses' larger role in society, something that I'm a great believer in. So I'm excited for what the MAP will be doing in the coming year. And so thank you once again to the MAP for inviting me to share some thoughts on this topic of relevant leadership. And so I thought of just sharing some ideas with you, as well as some stories, how we at Ayala apply this interpretation of relevant leadership within our own organization. And all the things that Rene mentioned are issues that I'm very aligned with myself. But right off the bat, let me just state that relevant leaders these days are those that are capable of deeply understanding what the pain points of a community are, while also appreciating their dreams and aspirations. Relevant leaders are also those who can steer their organizations to address these in a collaborative and financially, environmentally, and socially sustainable manner. This realization on my part started forming when I came back from my MBA studies. It's already back in the late 80s. And when I returned back to the Philippines, I found that many of the frameworks that I picked up at school were not really fully applicable to a country that was undergoing a massive transformation of its economy and society. And I remember reflecting pretty much on my own about these issues at the time. This was the late 80s, early 90s, and the country was grappling with various socio-economic challenges. However, the idea of a private sector playing a more active role in development started to take root in my mind. This would eventually become a pillar of the country's development through liberalization and public-private partnerships. From then, I started a practice that would eventually be a template to how I structured my professional and personal engagements. I devoted, at that very beginning, in the late 80s, about 20% of my time to civic philanthropic causes to better understand
the country's pain points at the time, as well as build a network of like-minded peers committed to finding lasting solutions. So while my main job was obviously in the private sector in a for-profit organization, I decided very early on to get myself a little bit involved in the nonprofit side to have a feel for the development needs of the country. And fortunately, the Philippine business does not run short of committed individuals and institutions, and of course, the MAP is one of those institutions that I took great learnings from. This belief, though, in a business as a platform for good crystallized in my mind and eventually became a guiding philosophy of how my brother Fernando and I led Ayala when we took the reins of the company, and I do believe Bongkot Singh, the current CEO of Ayala, shares exactly the same thinking. These ideas were not fully alien to Ayala as an organization at the time, as aligning our business objectives to opportunities that address customer pain points and aspirations have long been a part of our company's 190-year history. Therefore, back in the 90s, we started to deliberately invest in industries that we believed would help usher and empower the Filipino towards greater progress. We believed that this was a meaningful and sustainable business model, one that expands the economy and elevates quality of life, while building a significant groundswell of trust with our host communities and partners. For instance, back then, Ayala Land expanded its portfolio from just catering to the higher income populations to a broad set of offerings across all market segments. People forget, maybe some of the older members will remember that Ayala Land actually only had one product line at one point in time. Starting as a brand that likewise catered to the premium market, Globe, another company within the group, widened its reach, steadily transitioned towards digital and data, now reaping the rewards of that shift to a broader community. But again, Globe, when it started, was just dealing with one end of the spectrum of the income bracket of the country. BPI, for its part, began a gradual digital transformation as well, and financial inclusion campaign. On this point of financial inclusion between BPI Banco and GCash, Ayala, I would argue, is among the country's largest micro-lending institutions, having disbursed over 150 billion pesos worth of loans to small businesses and individuals since back in 2016. ASEN, our energy group as well, started from scratch back in 2012 and began investing originally in thermal assets, given the energy needs of the country at home. But it has since then pivoted towards more sustainable energy sources and is now one of the fastest growing renewables company in the region, remaining on track to reach 20 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030. So from then until now and towards the future, we see tremendous potential in the country. For 40 years, since coming back to the Philippines, I have seen a growing Philippines, but a Philippines that needs to remain competitive with its neighbors. And I think that's the challenge that we all face today, and a challenge that individuals like Secretary Pascual have been working hard to try to achieve. I believe that if we all want to see a globally competitive Philippines in the next 40 years, the progressive future that we're all talking about, we need to have all institutions work hand in hand to build a strong platform for exponential growth and equitable progress. It's important to ensure that the economy grows in an exponential and equitable manner while our population also grows. I think a great mistake that people make is to just assume that a static growth number is enough. We have to remember that our country keeps growing in terms of population size. So on a per capita income per individual, we have to move ahead of the growth of our own population. And these are challenges that we must take into account. So to illustrate the scale of the challenge, the government aims to nearly triple income per capita now to $11,000 per capita by 2040, compared to just around the $3,950 per capita today. Even then, this is still a far cry from Singapore's 2022 per capita income, for example, of $82,807 per capita, or Indonesia's current $4,580 per head, even though they're a larger country. So allow me to share some sectors where we have seen persistent gaps to close but at the same time, excellent opportunities to create value. And I put these out there as thought starters. Obviously, there are many other opportunities that exist and other ways of looking at these issues. Firstly, perhaps I'll mention healthcare. The pandemic exposed the most vulnerable areas in our system, while also elevating having a proactive and holistic approach to wellness. There is still a beds and heads challenge in that we require not only more hospital capacity, but perhaps more importantly, a significantly higher number of healthcare practitioners and allied personnel. The full implementation of universal healthcare will also be critical to our country. Secondly, there's also the role of infrastructure. It's notable that we continue to invest over 5% of GDP in infrastructure. That's heartening to all of us, which will be bolstered by the recently passed PPP Act of President Marcos. Nevertheless, the gap has become quite large, and that faster and larger investments are also now going to be required. We hope that our strengthened PPP framework will continue to provide a viable and fair way to encourage the private sector to help close these gaps. This certainly will be crucial if we intend to transform the Philippines into a truly attractive place for capital. As of 2022, the Philippines attracted the smallest amount of FDI among ASEAN's 6 largest economies at $9.2 billion, and Singapore was the highest FDI recipient at about $141 billion. Of course, you had Indonesia at 22 and Vietnam by 18 billion. I'm well aware the Secretary Pascual is aware of these issues. This is a challenge that we all face, not just government executives. But although we're still an economy that's driven importantly by consumption demand, it is also investments that we have to learn to bring into the country to help us with our needs. On education, we've seen a creeping learning challenge affecting young Filipinos. It's another issue we face. The World Bank and other reputable institutions have reported that the Philippines performs below our potential in literacy, mathematics, and science. This is likewise a critical factor that we need support to ensure that we have the talent base to take the country several levels higher. We note the tremendous contributions of various groups, such as the Philippine Business for Education, along this front. We're likewise dedicating capital to the sector together with the Uchenko Group through iPeople within the Ayala structure. And lastly, maybe I just thought I'd mention agriculture. We know that this sector remains extremely challenged due to persistent structural issues. We're hopeful that the private sector can also perhaps more meaningfully participate in this space in the future. A strong agricultural sector can generate excellent economic returns and equity for our farmers and guarantee proper nutrition and food security for the country. This brings us to today. There are present realities that we all must face as a country and that no single institution can tackle these alone. From mitigating the impact of climate change, reducing or even eliminating social and economic inequalities, to evaluating the Filipinos' living standards to a level that we all deserve, there is an implicit call for all of us to address these collaboratively and in a value-generating manner. I'm encouraged that this thinking is gaining tremendous momentum here and overseas, and I know that Rene, in his own style of leadership, is very much a believer in this principle of collaboration. Globally, there's the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. It started with tremendous support from the Vatican and has since expanded to count the largest global companies and faith groups as members. Another coalition is the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, WBCSD, and its goals are ambitious, comprehensive, and quite specific, which is to ensure that 9 billion people in the world will be able to live well within planetary boundaries by 2050. Lastly, within WBCSD is an entity called the Business Commission to Tackle Inequality. This global alliance of business aims to address the S of ESG, and we hope that more Filipino companies can be part of these coalitions. On this point, I recall that in 2020, the MAP spearheaded the launch of the Covenant for Shared Prosperity, supported by almost all Philippine business groups. I hope and just suggest that maybe MAP revisit this covenant to see how we may use it as a platform for meaningful impact. I believe that this is at the heart of relevant leadership, as Rene pointed out, to help alleviate pains and enable aspirations to be achieved. This also makes tremendous business sense. Enterprises, like all of ours, cannot succeed, let alone exist, when the environment is severely degraded and social tensions remain high. In fact, we believe that there are significant business opportunities and operational efficiencies to be unlocked when an organization aligns itself to relevant leadership. We need not look far to see the power of relevant leadership. Recall that during the pandemic, there was no playbook on how to deal with a deadly virus that resulted in an economic shutdown and social isolation. It wasn't that long ago, and I'm sure all of you remember that period. In fact, the pandemic challenged our long-held notions of how businesses should operate. I remember sitting in my room and realizing we had no playbook to be able to deal with these problems. We have all been taught about the primacy of fierce competition for success in our training, in the way we work within a capitalist structure. However, the pandemic revealed that it was cooperation that created the most value during that critical and difficult period. I think Dr. Ciel Habito, who I saw here earlier, has extensively written about this using the term co-opetition to achieve higher value creation and impact when there is a need for all of us to work in unison rather than against each other. To illustrate, the Philippines can and should be exceptionally proud of how different institutions, government, civil society, the business community, and the church came together to tackle this massive challenge head-on. Task Force T3, which many of you were involved in, Project Ugnayan, were massive successes during that difficult period of the pandemic and effective templates for others to adopt during emergencies. Relevant leadership grounded on cooperation is strong and I believe very much alive in our country. As a closing note, this year, Ayala will be celebrating its 190th anniversary. Entering this milestone year, we embarked on an initiative to refresh and further deepen our understanding of our stakeholders, as well as revisit our purpose and values as an organization. We have rediscovered that our purpose at Ayala Corporation is to build businesses that enable people to thrive. A purpose that is quite aligned to the whole concept of relevant leadership that Rene was putting emphasis on. This is a common thread that ties together our heritage, all our subsidiaries, and our employees over many years. Most significantly, this will be the anchor from which our future initiatives will be founded on. Moving forward, Ayala intends to intensify investments in several meaningful areas. On sustainability, we remain on track to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions across all scopes and across the group by 2050. We're taking this journey step by step. Our largest subsidiaries have completed their respective baseline studies and their roadmaps towards 2050 and will be embarking on projects to reduce and better manage emissions. Aligned with our commitment to the BCTI, we're also developing a view on social impact and equity action, focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, principles that I think are also very much relevant to the MAP, and investing heavily in community and leadership development. All these will lead up what will be a comprehensive sustainability strategy, which we're excited to share with all of you soon. Our newest investments in healthcare and electricity mobility will continue to receive significant support also from the Ayala Group. We remain excited about the ability of these sectors to generate sustainable value, contribute meaningfully to enhancing the health and well-being of our population, and also to upgrade our transportation infrastructure to be relevant to the changing nature of this mobility space. We're grateful for the trust that we have received from our stakeholders and many host communities, our investors and our shareholders, and our friends and partners across Philippine business, especially, of course, from the MAP. Still a lot more to be done, and I look forward to reconnecting with all of you to see how we can resolve these persistent challenges that we all are here to help address in our own ways through the MAP. I hope we can work together towards building a more equitable and progressive Philippines, where all Filipinos are healthy, where all Filipinos are educated, and where they all are included. We can enjoy the benefits of a modern economy and an enhanced standards of living, hopefully and ultimately allow our countrymen to also be their best selves and thrive in the work that we all do in this association. But more than anything, thank you again for this opportunity. Rene, congratulations on your leadership and your new board. And all of us, myself included, remain very proud to be part of the history of the MAP and part of its heritage. So thank you again for this opportunity and wishing you all a great 2024 as it comes around. Thank you.
PDA. It's not physical display of affection, but a leader should know the pains, the dreams and aspirations of your people and aim to alleviate pain and enable them to achieve their dreams and aspirations. It was very, very wonderful. So now we have gotten into this part of the program where we can actually ask questions to Jaza. There are microphones on the floor for use in asking your questions. Please wait to be acknowledged before you ask the question. Please be brief in asking the questions, and a kind reminder, please refrain from making a speech. So, while you're getting ready and heated up for the question, we'd like to ask Jaza a question. Okay. We know that you are an influencer, so you are relevant as we speak because you have a blog. So, your After 6 blog has generated so much interest, not just from the business community, from all walks of life. What motivated for you to start it, and how do you want to sustain it?
Well, you might be surprised by my answer. The only public blog I have a couple of private ones, but they're just for friends and family. But the public one is really through Facebook, and it came about for a very unusual reason. I found somebody that had impersonated me many years ago when Facebook started. And so this individual, at first I thought it was amusing. Facebook was not that big at the time. But this individual started inviting people to talks, etc., and expressing thoughts that had nothing to do with the way I think. So I said, I think I have to do something about this. And so I talked to individuals in Ayala who were involved, and they said, well, the best solution you can have is to actually put up your own page, and we'll report this, but you have to control that name, and so that's how I got going. And from there, I just thought it was a great medium to be able to share issues that were happening in the company, things that we were involved in, and express some of the themes that were important to me. And so that's really how it came along. It's really the only forum that I use on that front, and it's just a chance for people to see things that are of interest to me and activities that are taking place with the company.
And out of curiosity, who has more followers, you or the impersonator?
I don't know. I don't really follow how many followers are involved, but...
Shirley, so the floor is open now for questions. Okay, question over there.
Good afternoon, Poch Macaran here. Having advised many groups in the Philippines on competitiveness, one of the outstanding issues is the Filipino culture. You were saying that businesses should now cooperate more than compete, which is against the major ethos of capitalism, but you have succeeded in doing so. What would you advise on the education part? Because lifelong learning is now the mantra of the whole world. You have invested recently in education, and I want to find out more about your thoughts on that matter. Filipino culture, how could we change it?
Thank you very much. Well, let me say the competition is important. I don't want to denigrate that importance. I think most of the training we've all had is how to excel, how to move ahead, how to reinvent our organizations, the products and services that we have, and how to succeed. And this happens both at the individual level, at the corporate level, at the national level, and it's a basic element of the capitalist system, which is all about reinvention. So let me not just say that the competition in and of itself is a bad thing. But I did want to add the element that there are moments when there are issues that are bigger than any one of us, bigger than ourselves as individuals, bigger than ourselves as institutions, and bigger than ourselves as a country. Climate change, of course, being a leading example, where cooperation is really what's necessary. If we all just row the boat for ourselves, and not have a sense of a broader need, then I think we will all suffer. And I guess the point I was trying to make on that front, and it goes back, as you point out, and in the question about Filipino values, that whole Bayanihan spirit, a spirit of working together, we're very strong. It comes very naturally to us as a country, and that's why I think during the pandemic, there was really an ability for all of us to come together quite easily as private institutions. That sense of belonging, of contributing, of working together, I think is very much a part of our culture. And so I think that makes us quite unique. I think there are many countries that have been surprised, or I've heard anecdotally, at how well the Philippines was able to come together, both the public and the private sector, to work hand in hand in addressing a problem. Not all countries had an environment like that. So I think that's what I was referring to. And I do believe that if we take a page from that period of time, that pandemic, we're now faced with many issues that face us. Geopolitical issues, issues of the environment, issues of tensions between countries. And if this spirit of cooperation can become one more bigger element of the way we behave as business individuals, looking for ways of cooperating, and the MAP, of course, is a beautiful platform for that, then I think we can achieve a great deal more. I'm a great believer in the private sector being an instrument for finding solutions to problems through a for-profit structure. I believe the capitalist system is a superb system when used productively to address pain points in society. And if we can just find ways and be relevant, as Rene pointed out, to work hand in hand with each other on moments when the issues are bigger than all of us, then I think we can achieve the kind of combustion that is necessary to move a country forward.
I mean, the question was very good in terms of Filipino culture. You mentioned good things, bayanihan, cooperation. Is there any Filipino culture that needs to be changed?
Well, I'd like to just focus on the positive ones. I think we are, as a nation, I'm always surprised that, well, I would say maybe in general, we're not the most rigorous in forward planning. And in general, as a culture, I'm not saying anything in specific. We generally tend to be more reactive than planners. But we're especially good in moments of crisis in coming together as individuals and communities. I'm always shocked at how well we work together in moments of crisis. I just wish we could prevent more crises from happening before they do. But that's an element that's very strong, I guess, in our culture, and one that we should be proud of, and one that has made us, I believe, very resilient as a culture. Many individuals often reflect how we get through all our problems as a country. And I believe that resiliency is something that's very innate in our nature and has enabled us to survive in many difficult situations.
Okay. Next question, please. Would be better if we could speak louder in terms of the name or organization where you're from. So while waiting for the next question, one of the big things in MAP is the next gen. We have definitely increased the number of the younger leaders in the organization. The question always is, how do you bridge the gap between the senior leadership and the Gen Z?
Well, there are many methods of doing that, but let me say up front that all of us have a responsibility of passing the baton on. The organizations that we represent, the institutions like MAP, are important institutions, but they remain important and relevant only if they have longevity. So all of us here, I think, in this room, have a responsibility to bring in younger individuals and align them to the kind of values that the MAP represents. That should be a responsibility and a commitment we all have, laying the foundations for the next group of leaders. And that has to be done formally in many ways. And I think not everyone gives emphasis to that component of the responsibilities they have. And whether you belong to an institution like the MAP or to a company that you represent here or to an association, I think all of us have to take on that responsibility that we have to allow that institution to move on from the position it is now. And that involves getting younger people involved, because obviously not the same people will provide leadership. Plus, younger people also give a whole new way of looking at things, a new perspective. So that responsibility is one that I think lays in all our hands in the institutions we represent, but for MAP, vitally important. So how does one go about it? Well, I think engaging individuals, listening to them. One is constantly surprised about how thinking has changed one generation to another, or how people are looking at ideas in new ways. I think finding a forum, finding a mechanism for an exchange of ideas between the wisdom of some of those that have been around for a while and some of the new, more relevant ideas that young people have, and finding a bridge between those should be a challenge MAP puts on itself. And it'll create, I think, an exciting dynamic within your own organization.
For sure, the new BOD has taken note of that. Yes. Next questions.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Bantiling from European Chamber of Commerce. ESG is a big conversation right now, and these conversations world leaders and even big business. How can this be with entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, the SMEs? And we know in the Philippines, majority is really entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs are just trying to live with the day and trying to survive. I'm an entrepreneur. I would like to embrace being relevant and with conversation and ESG. How can we engage? What would you do to rally us, the SMEs, to join you with this call on the ESG?
Well, I think you're perfectly correct in that SMEs are a cornerstone of the foundation of the country. I think there's been a lot of emphasis put on the role of SMEs. A good friend, Joey Concepcion, for example, has done a great job, I believe, in building engagement, I guess, across the SME sector in that sense. I'm sure that there are committees also within the MAP that link up to that. I remember well working together with Rene within the Ayala Group. We realized that aside from the corporation itself and our businesses, that we were actually a company that also had a large flow of SMEs that supported our group. They were partners in our undertaking, and we decided to recognize them. And so within the Ayala Group, we decided to start hosting gatherings that involved all the SMEs that supported our group, everyone from suppliers to tenants and build on that ecosystem. So that's one example of how we within the group began to recognize the importance of that community and integrate them a little bit into the services we could provide, the learnings, and have a common aspiration together. That's one way maybe to recognize it. We sort of took it a little bit more seriously a little later, I guess, in our history, but we realized it was an important community. So perhaps for the MAP, there can be a recognition that size is not always important. Everybody has a role to play in the ecosystem of our business community. But thank you. Thanks for the point.
And Joe, we also have here, we're fortunate to have here as well, former MAP President and DTS Secretary Fred Pascual, who's one of the core pillars is actually helping SMEs, and the team is in here. So next question, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Sir Jasa, for sharing your inspiring thoughts. Mike Makatangay, 180 News Consultants. It's a challenge for the Philippines to stay competitive in competing against our neighbor ASEAN countries. What do you think the Philippines should do to be able to really compete and eventually surpass and become a major player in our ASEAN region? Thank you.
Well, that's a very broad question, and like I said, that's a complex answer. I don't think there are any easy solutions. I know individuals like Secretary Fred Pascual are doing their role within the DTI umbrella, but there are many components of government that are vital. But I have to say, if I'm going to emphasize one, the one area that's always been important to me at a personal level, and we've decided to put capital behind it in the Ayala Group, is the whole field of education. I'm shocked at the changes taking place globally in the way we work, the way we think, the tools we have from technology now. And if you're an individual who has not had the framework to be able to access this information, process it, and use it productively for the betterment, I guess, of society, then we will be left behind. So the one area I would put emphasis on is build the relevancy, using again a word of MAP in this year, between the education that we're providing for our young students and the needs of industry moving forward. That link between the education and the needs of industry and business and the private sector is something that must come closer together. There is sometimes a big disconnect between the two. And if you look back, even I was giving in my remarks a reflection that what I had learned at school was not totally relevant. Some of it was relevant, but not totally relevant to the problems I faced providing young leadership when I returned back to the country. And I had to fill that gap myself. So imagine the kind of gaps as technology continues to evolve, the evolution of AI, the changing evolution of the way technology is being used. If there's a gap between what our students are learning and what industry needs and the changing world needs, then we're not going to gain that competitive that we need. So if I will put one point forward, maybe it's a need for all of us to work hand in hand, both in the educational sector and in industry with institutions like MAP, to bring that more closely together. I know groups like the Philippine Business for Education are doing that. I think Ramon de Rosario has done an extraordinary job in bringing practitioners and education together with industry. But maybe that's the one point I would focus on, because if you get that right, everything else flows from that.
Thank you very much for that question. You have a follow-up question? So we still have room for 3 more questions. Yes. Yes, on the table.
I'll ask question po. Hello sir, good afternoon. This is Briggs Delis from the Manila Times. Sir, you mentioned earlier that how important it is for businesses to venture into agriculture, businesses, health, among others. So sir, for Ayala Corp, as the oldest conglomerate in the country, do you have any plans to venture into the agri sector?
Into the agri sector?
Yes, sir.
Well, we're doing it indirectly. There are many components. When you take an industry like agriculture, there are many components of it. Right now, and it's an area that Rene Almendras has been quite involved in, we've decided to put a little focus on the logistics side of the business. We're building cold storages, we're building a network of linkages that will help in some form or fashion both starting products, commodities, and the like be able to move through the country efficiently. So we've decided to tackle it from that angle. We can't tackle everything, but that's an area that we have put emphasis on. But there are many ideas of what could work on. Structurally, we have a difficult situation in the country because of land ownership and the limitations on that. You can't build scale. But we can provide, and that's what we're trying to do at least as one step, to provide the logistical support to make the goods and services be able to move more efficiently around the country. That's the one area we're putting emphasis on. But I know that there are many other practitioners focused on other areas.
Sir, you've mentioned that there are certain limitations. So sir, with regards to that, what do you think of amending the charter for the charter change, sir? Economic provisions for charter change. Do you have?
Well, I haven't looked at it carefully. I think everything in life can be looked at. I think there were some changes that the government was able to do without charter change with respect to the economic framework of the country and encouraging more foreign investment and making the country friendlier to ownership. I think, we have to revisit all of these issues every now and then. I'm not aware of the elements of the current charter change movement, so I don't want to comment on that. But with respect to elements that will make our country more attractive to foreign capital, I think we should always be willing to look at those issues.
Sir, last question. Sir, amid ongoing tensions abroad, like geopolitical tensions, especially in the Middle East, do you think these tensions have significant impact in Philippine businesses?
Yes, yeah, very much so. I was just early this morning looking at the foreign press. And one thing that I think everyone takes for granted, and we take it for granted, we don't accept that there have been a lot of people that help at work to help that happen, is the way goods and services have moved freely across the seas over the years. We take for granted that a boat can leave, Panama and cross to Europe and then bring goods and services to us in the Philippines. We take it for granted. But there have been institutions in countries like the United States that provided safety for the movement of those goods and services over the years. Not only the US, but a system, a global system. I think right now that's a little bit under fire, particularly in the Middle East. Goods have had to take a different route, mainly across the southern port of Africa, rather than go through the Suez Canal because of tensions that have existed in the Middle East. We take the global system of logistics and transportation for granted. I don't think we should. And as a country, we should do whatever we can to be helpful to global communities. This is an area where cooperation comes to play, to be supportive of a global system of trade and the movement of goods and services for our benefit as well as the benefit of others. So yes, I do believe that there will be disruptions. Yes, I believe that there will be cost implications. And yes, I believe, given the current environment, there'll be difficulties that we all face.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Manila Times. We have room for 2 more questions.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Ed Amistad, an entrepreneur. Mr. Jasa, one of the recurring problems of the country is disaster preparedness. I understand you're very much active in this area. Is there a role for MAP to play in disaster preparedness for the country? Thank you.
Yeah, no, very much so. I think disaster preparedness is something that is part of a focus on resiliency. We formed a group of like-minded individuals. We essentially got a group together to build a coalition of private sector companies to help prepare the country. Many of us noticed that the government would call on many of the large institutions in the Philippines in moments of crisis. And all of us provided help in different ways. And then we decided as a grouping of business groups to come together and organize ourselves for disaster resiliency and provide a framework as private sector groups so we could already coordinate and be coordinated before the government called on us. We set up operation centers in Clark as an independent operation center, and I think that was an example to the rest of the world of the private sector coming together. It's PDRF, the association that I'm making reference to, and I co-chair it with Manny Pangilinan of PLDT. And we were able to get a lot of engagement from the private sector to organize ourselves so that in moments of disaster, we were already organized and could work together with government through one touch point. This is an area, again, where cooperation, I think, is important between all of us, rather than just relying on our own needs and working hand in hand with the government. So I think PDRF is a great example of coordination to make us more resilient for times like you made reference to.
And I'm very happy to say that I was with Cory last month in Dubai for COP28, and we have personally witnessed how the Philippines, for the first time, no longer just talking about how the Philippines is a victim of disaster, but actually a solution provider for climate change, because ASEN, as part of the Ayala Group, is actually the first in the world to actually complete the energy transition mechanism. It's actually the first in the world, and we were given the main stage in United Nations COP28. Yeah, next question, please.
Last question. I'm Reggie Casas. I'm the MAP chairman for the Environment Committee, and I'd like to express our deep admiration for the Ayala's effort on environment. And my question is, can you elaborate a little bit more on the quote-unquote, the Ayala support on electric mobility? Thank you.
Yes, we've decided as a group, every so often we look at an industry grouping that's either going through disruption or transition, and we say, how can we be part of helping this process along, particularly if it has positive externalities to the country. We're a great believer within the within the Ayala Group in promoting an electronic vehicle transition. There are many forces at work globally that are going to make that a reality. Many countries have made it a mandate that we move from the internal combustion engine to an electric motor by a specific date. Car manufacturers in general are also moving aggressively in that direction, so there won't be past 2030, 2035, many cars with internal combustions anymore. It is going to be a reality. So our argument within the Ayala Group is we should do everything possible for the country to speed up this transition. But there are many externalities, positive externalities that come with the transition to EV that I think we're not paying enough attention to. For example, I'll remember the one good thing that came from the pandemic was, I think all of you will remember, the air was very clean. I don't know if you all noticed it, but I used to wake up in the morning and for the first time I saw blue skies in the city of Manila. I could hear birds chirping. It was actually quite beautiful from an environmental point of view. If you have a promulgation of electronic vehicles that bring down the pollution in the city of Manila, the external effects on health and many other areas would be tremendous. So, that's one element, amongst many. So we're a great believer within the Ayala Group of the positive externalities of a transition to electronic vehicles. We'd like to be part of that transition. We're doing whatever we can to contribute both to the infrastructure and mobility space in that sense. And it's a global shift that's taking place. I hope as a country we can provide leadership as well on that front, and that we can move successfully to that space. I think that the positive effects on the country could be tremendous. It won't happen overnight, but I think it is a trend that is going to happen, whether we like it or not, and I think it is for the good of the world that this is happening.
Okay, we have one bonus question for Malaysian Ambassador Datu.
Thank you. First of all, really, I'd like to congratulate you and your team, and of course, you for a wonderful job you've done before this. So, Jamie, just a quick question. I wanted to ask you again on your thoughts on what would be the key elements of changes that need to be done in order for Philippines to further attract more foreign investments. I think it was touched before, but I think specifically what you think needs to be done. Number two, Secretary Pascal is here, so I'd like to also greet him. And they've been doing a lot of work in the halal industry. Halal, as you know, has been spearheaded by the president, of course, by Secretary Pascal. And what do you think, would Ayala be interested to also be part of this ecosystem? And do you think there's a potential for Philippines to be a leader in the halal ecosystem? Thank you.
A leader in?
The halal ecosystem, yeah.
I don't know about a leader in halal, although, why not? Definitely. But from attracting foreign investment, I think there's a number of factors. These are issues that we have worked hand in hand with Secretary Pascual whenever we can. The President has been taking great steps in promoting the country. He travels regularly to attract investment, and I think our record in building up interest has been good. But I think we all have a responsibility. It's not just the government's role to do that. And I think, these are not complex solutions. It's about stability and the rules and regulations we put. It's about setting standards that people can count on when they come. I think we have to be respectful that investments take time to recover. And so anything that gives an investor comfort that they will have a set grouping of principles that won't change over a period of time, and giving them comfort that will be there is a way of attracting investment. These are normal things that you would even do in your own company to do so. Those are principles I think that we have to get better at, and then we have to go and sell the country successfully. And there are many tools involved in something like that. I just believe we have to make a bigger effort in being friendly to foreign capital and also being friendly to local capital. The private sector is a big engine for growth in any country, and I think should be given the respect they deserve for capital they put to work and for the employment that they generate.
Yes. And with that, once again, Mr. Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon.
Former Senator Recto as the finance what's the opinion of the MAP?
You actually discussed it at the MAP board, because now that we're finally inducted, I can make an official statement of sorts. The Management Association of the Philippines supports the decision of President Marcos, and we are very excited that Secretary Ralph Recto will be taking on the portfolio of the Finance Department. On a personal note, I've had many opportunities to work with Secretary, with the Secretary when he was a senator, when he was a congressman, and I know how he works. I know that he has got a very good grasp of the realities of the economy and taxation and all that. But more than that, I think his experience in the legislature will allow him to very effectively work with the legislature. He is going to take charge of the fiscal policy of the national government. It's very important that the person who is running that can also liaise and work with the legislature. So he's being a former senator and congressman actually makes him quite effective.
So any wish list from the MAP?
No, I don't think it's about the wish list. We have discussed at the board several issues. There are some issues that we would like to be, we would like to support and we would like to highlight. We will be working with the government, of course. We are supporting quite a number of the government's programs. That as well of Secretary Rector's rolls out these plans and programs.
Sir, you flashed on the screen earlier, 7.
Sir, camera lang po, sir.
Ano po yung policy?
Sir, camera lang.
Okay, what's happening now is each of we explained the 5 trusts of MAP. So we've reduced the number of committees to fit what we feel are the more urgent issues. So we are still in the organizational stage. And I've asked each of the committee chairmen to draft something like this is what the objective of the committee is, as well as the 3 or 5 more issues that they would really like to focus on. I think to be truly effective, we don't want to be all over the place. We just want to choose the areas where we can make a difference and really contribute. So at this time, I cannot tell you exactly which one. We have been reviewing some of those, from the business lingo KPIs that we would like to highlight.
About yung drive last year?
That is going to continue, and we're expanding that because we now know that there's a very big education challenge. It's not even making sure that our students do better in school. It's really making sure that the learning education system of today will be ready for what's going to be happening in the next maybe 5-10 years, which is, to be honest, we expect to be quite drastic. So AI and all the new technologies, even business will be changing the way things will be. So we need to make sure that our young people who will eventually be joining society and being productive members of the economy will be ready for that situation.
Bagong proposed legislation na support this year.
MAP, yes, we will be supporting as the government rolls out. We will advocate for some of them. I think you would have seen some of the initiatives already with what some of the announcements. We are very supportive of ARTA. We're very supportive of the ease of doing business. We, including JASA, did mention that the key is investing, is to encourage investment, both domestic and foreign investors. The ultimate goal is jobs for the Filipinos. I mean, the economy is a function of the production and the productivity of the population. We'd like to make sure that we continue to do the right thing so that more investments come in, new businesses are started, existing businesses expand so that we can take on the more Filipinos that need jobs.
Sir, what are your thoughts on the new taxes?
I've not had a chance to review them, and our committee is still studying those things. We'll make the appropriate position.